Yeah, so thanks for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be with you. And I will speak about climate resilient agri-food systems in Africa, and particularly the role of climate data for informed decision making. And as you probably know, the transformation of agri-food systems is really at the core of the German development cooperation agenda. And of course, climate information and associated decision-making support are key ingredients for this transformation of agriculture and food systems. So I think this is a topic that is also close to your work, and I'm looking forward to the discussion. I will try to be brief so that we have ample space for exchange and discussion. Yeah, so just to frame the challenge from my perspective, as I said, climate information or climate risk information is really crucial to address climate change. Yeah, if we don't know what are local impacts of climate change, then it's very difficult to adapt meaningfully or transform and change the agriculture and food systems in a way that is really responding to this challenge. And yeah, this is no simple task. Small-scale farmers, particularly in Africa, but globally, have limited access to essential information on the climate in their location, so on historic climate conditions, and also on the forecasts at different temporal scales, and also from the policy angle, food and agriculture initiatives lack capacities and tools for climate risk assessments. Yeah, and if we don't integrate this properly in our planning and decision making from a policy angle, then I think there are some challenges when it comes to learning, monitoring, but also accountability. Yeah, how to attribute our work to climate change. Yeah, and avoid some relabeling. Yeah, so yeah, and personally, I had the privilege to work on this interface. I would call it a science policy practice interface since a number of years. I joined GIZ in 2012, and so I think yeah, we are in a very good position there to work together with programs and initiatives like interfaces, yeah, to also provide yeah, good opportunities for joint progress and learning and so on in this field. Yeah, and recently there has been also, I think, global momentum, growing momentum for climate information in agriculture and food systems. So here and this these different pictures try to give a glimpse of that. For example, this recent assessment by FAO on the content of the national determined contributions, so the climate commitments of the signatory countries of the Paris Climate Change Agreement. This clearly shows that agriculture is, of course, a key focus of most countries. So 95% of NDCs include adaptation in the agriculture sector. And also, of course, this is very much related to disaster risk reduction and risk management. So 70% include disaster risk reduction and management. And also the topic of climate information and advisory services is pretty prominent. Yeah, so at least 1/3 of the NDCs relates to that. So this is yeah, from what's happening at national level. And then at the UN level, we had recently a very important push for early warning systems. And there has been this early warnings for all action plan that was launched by Antonio Gutierrez in 2023 that aims for global protection. So all people must be protected by early warning systems by 2027. And particularly, this also applies for the agriculture sector. And then the recent climate change negotiations in Dubai, I think you probably also followed, where one important progress and topic was the global goal on adaptation. As you all know, the Paris Agreement has two angles, the adaptation and the mitigation part, and there's a global goal on adaptation. And this framework aims to further specify what progress means under this global goal on adaptation. And amongst other things, at the recent climate summit, parties have agreed that exactly the goal from this early warning for all initiative needs to be implemented. So all parties have climate information services by 2027. And also all parties have conducted climate risk assessments to inform NAPs. And yeah, GIZ has been quite active in this field for over a decade. So, and also the German Development Corporation in general has been very committed to agriculture and food systems over the last decade. So yeah, I wanted to put this a bit into perspective, how this relates to the work that we are doing. Just to give you a glimpse of the portfolio, maybe some of you know this already. So Germany has been supporting between 2014 and 2021 initiatives in agri-food systems as part of the core theme strategy, transformation of agriculture and food systems, and the volume of this support, the funds for technical cooperation and financial cooperation amounted to over 2 billion euro to nearly 2.5 billion euro, and 300 projects in the field of climate change and agriculture and food systems were implemented. And about half of it is technical cooperation, and about roughly 80% was spent on the adaptation side, and mainly in Africa. So Africa was the biggest recipient region with over 800 million euro being implemented there. And of course, on climate change adaptation in agriculture and rural development, this always also entails some kind of climate risk assessment, or at least this is the policy within GIZ. When we are planning projects, then we often refer to the climate narrative, so the assumptions about cause-effect relationships on climate change. And we don't have all the very granular data, how many climate risk information projects, the volume of funding there, but a large part of these interventions also refers to this work. Just to give you...
Can I quickly interrupt you? There is a little icon on the screen that you... If you can just click that one. No, ausblenden.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Thanks.
And just to give a bit more flesh to the bones, what does it entail? Of course, there is a broad mix of measures and approaches that comes into play here. So agroecology, climate information services, early warning systems, climate risk assessments. We have developed a source book, vulnerability. All these informations are also available online. And approaches on climate sensitive land use planning, climate risk insurance. So there has been a lot of commitment also over the past years from Germany in this area. And of course, value chain development projects always also include this aspect of climate change adaptation, soil protection, land governance, food and nutrition security, drought resilience, all these kind of approaches with varying degrees. Here are some nice pictures from Zambia, from different projects. And yeah, in the limited time that we have, I wanted to give you a bit of an impression into two practical approaches that we are supporting. The first one is really on this topic of climate narrative or climate rationale, how to understand the climate-related risks of specific agricultural systems. This is a tool that was recently launched. We have developed it together in also this science policy practice partnership together with Alliance Biodiversity and SIAD, Italian research center URAG Research, funded by BMZ. And there's also the website. This tool helps you, as I said, to understand climate-related risks of specific agricultural systems, to identify cascading impacts, because of course, local climate change impacts are quite complex. And then it helps you to review and identify relevant adaptation options based on empirical evidence, peer-reviewed and other scientific publications. And it helps you to articulate science-based adaptation hypothesis. So what is the project doing different in order to respond to projected or observed climate change impacts? That's what we mean by adaptation hypothesis. So this is a very concrete example of a science policy practice partnership. And since this is a scientific audience, I would like to give a little bit more background, a few insights on the key components of this tool. So this tool, sorry, I wanted to go here. Is based actually on a typology of farming system from Dixon at Altera. Dixon has characterized, built this typology together with FAO for the global entire entity, I think, of farming systems. And then this is, so to say, the system of concern that we are looking at. And then there is a tool front end that gives you an introduction into this tool and helps you to explore impact chains, so cause-effect relationships in the different farming systems of climate impacts. And you can generate a report, and you'll find some additional resources and user guide, etc. And this is powered, so to say, by a knowledge base, which builds on a review of over 1,200 publications from over 100 countries. And the researchers from SIAD, Alliance Biodiversity SIAD, have distilled about more than 1,800 factors, so to say, climate impact factors, and linked them together. So, and they are grouped according to the IPCC recent definition of climate risk. Yeah, and then this is powered in the back by an impact chain ontology, so an ontological model that provides a structured way to describe these cause-effect relationships. And now I would like to give you a tour of this tool, because I think it's easier if I do it with this video than explaining. I think it gives a nice impression. And now let me share the video here. I hope it works. Please interrupt me if it doesn't, if you don't hear the sound.
The CRISP tool is designed to support project managers in understanding climate-related risks associated with specific agricultural systems. In this video, we showcase how to use the tool to conduct a climate risk screening to articulate science-based adaptation hypotheses based on the development of impact chains. To begin using CRISP, the first step is to select the country or the farming system of your interest. If you are not sure of the farming system, go to the map to check. When the window pops up, select Hazard and go on to Explore Impact Chain. The next page shows you the climate hazards in that farming system. Hover over each hazard factor to read actual insights. Then select the hazards that apply to your location. You can also do this selection process with the support of local experts. Next, add the impacts to the impact chains. Hover over those connected to the hazards you selected and choose the relevant ones. This allows you to make an impact chain specific to your particular project location. Once you've done that, select the vulnerabilities. At this stage, you see what is driving the risk. Now, visualize the adaptation options and select what applies to your case. Now, also visualize exposure and risk. Go to the impact chain table to verify the selection of factors and revise, adding or removing, if necessary. As a last step, generate a report containing the impact chain information tailored to the case, or you can download the data file and use it in another application. After having used the CRISP tool, it is recommended to validate and complement the climate risk impact chain by consulting with local partners and community experts. As we have seen in this use case, CRISP can facilitate the creation of an initial impact chain that supports the project engagement and planning process with key stakeholders. Each community is unique, and so are the solutions needed to reduce their climate risks. Thanks to the CRISP tool, you can create a bespoke and modifiable initial impact chain that will help tailor future discussions, ensuring the right solutions for the individual needs of communities.
You're muted again.
Okay, so this was can you hear me?
Yes, now we can hear you.
Perfect. Yeah, so this was a brief tour of the tool, and here are some insights from an application. Yeah, I think that's probably even the richer explanation what this could contribute, especially to the at the project level. Yeah, so this is from Bolivia, where our colleagues planned a new bilateral development project that helps to transition from subsistence and less sustainable farming practices to climate resilient agroecological agri-food systems. And their colleagues used CRISP in the project appraisal to identify adaptation measures and to integrate them during this appraisal mission. And just in a nutshell, with the experience from our colleague, the component lead and senior advisor there, he said that CRISP is a valuable guide for non-climate specialists, enhancing their understanding of climate hazards, impacts, vulnerabilities, and adaptation options. And it improved the climate narrative of the new project. So we are starting to roll this out. We are in other projects of GIZ in other world regions and so on. We have applied it so far, or tested it in half a dozen of countries, and we are also eager to explore together with you further options for application. Everyone can do that individually, but yeah, we are also eager to learn from your experiences and hear your feedback there. And now, just very briefly, because in the beginning I mentioned that, of course, this is a challenge not only for policymakers and project implementers, but particularly to the last mile, also to the farmers, to better plan for climate impacts and anticipate them and respond. So I wanted to briefly share a second example. Why is it not moving? Now it's moving. Another approach that we supported in Zambia and Malawi recently, together with also university partners, in this case, the University of Reading in the UK, and then government partners, the meteorological offices from Zambia and Malawi, and private sector partners, and the agricultural extension services. And PICSA stands for Participatory Integrated Climate Services in Agriculture. And this is really, I would say, groundbreaking initiative to equip smallholder farmers or empower them to make more informed decisions on their own about their agricultural and livelihoods enterprises based on accurate location-specific climate and weather information and the use of tools for participatory discussions. And in this project, we co-developed and implemented a digital tool to facilitate this approach and scale it even further. This has been already applied since about 10 years in more than 20 countries with quite positive results. And now with this application that you can see here, we are able to reach more farmers. You can see the application here for Zambia, where this climate tool contains the historic climatology of the region, which is used then by extension officers to explain to farmers the local precipitation patterns, and that can be quite insightful. For example, the selection of seeds, and then also questions like the onset and so on, duration of the rainy season, and many other information. Of course, this is oftentimes not applied by the farmers themselves, or not used, this digital tool, by the farmers themselves, but rather by the extension officers. And in the back, there are automated systems providing location-specific historical climate information and forecasts, and then also other information about agricultural decision-making. And this has been now rolled out to about 100 agricultural field staff and 10,000 farmers in Zambia and Malawi. And this is, I think, a very nice example how science, policy, and practice comes together to solve one of these very tough challenges of last mile access to such kind of information. And we know from the application in several countries that the adoption rates, they're astonishingly high. So about 80% of farmers report in some self-attribution surveys that they use this information for their household decision-making. And there are some economic studies that show really about 60% yield increases on average by applying this PIXA approach. And we have recently also conducted a study with the Potsdam Institute of Climate Impact Research, where we did a econometric or modeling also for the impacts and costs and benefits for this study, which showed that there's a break even in year one and quite high returns on the investments for individual farmers. Here are some impressions from the trainings of this project. In this case, it's a non-digital version where you can see the seasonal forecast for Zambia of the weather. And then, just to come to my conclusion, also in the context of this of your research projects and the colloquium, I believe that climate information systems and climate risk information plays a key role when we speak about the transformation of agriculture and food systems or implement this. As I said, the mainstreaming needs to happen at all levels, and it needs to be a systematic consideration of climate risk management, particularly to understand how something is changing and why something is changing. And then, of course, also these cascading impacts, where one impact leads to a different impact and so on. And for accountability, impact, and learning for projects, it's quite important to have a clear climate narrative to be able to pinpoint how this really contributes to this big global endeavor to respond to climate change. And explanatory tools like CRISP can be a starting point. Of course, there are some limitations to them, but they can help to root this also in for example, policies and sectoral strategies and so on. And this is still at a quite aggregate level. So personally working on these topics since over a decade, I'm really convinced that especially this last mile access is so important. And with the PIXA approach, this is really a milestone that empowers farmers to make their own choices and decisions based on good tools and information. And of course, farmers need to live with the risk of their own management decisions, and they know their own plots and the local conditions. So these blanket approaches are often much less suitable and also less adopted for good reasons. So such kind of an approach that really empowers farmers to make their own choices, I think are quite relevant. And tools, of course, need to be easily understood and easy to share. And personally, I'm so grateful for this kind of policy practice and science interactions. I think that's really what brings our discussion forward. Here are some pictures also from work in Zambia on this topic. This is me and my colleague Maike Voss. We are both working in the sector project Rural Development, and we are happy to respond to any questions even after this session. And please contact us. And here you can find also some further resources, some reports, and other resources from our work. Thank you very much, and back to you, Hannah, for the facilitation of the discussion.